You've probably seen the ads, land 5K retainers, become the face of a brand. The truth? There is no secret shortcut, but there is a proven path, which I have literally been talking about since 2022, which is why I'm still so confused why these mentors think what they're teaching is groundbreaking by any means. But today, I'm going to break it down step by step for free. You don't have to join my community. You don't have to buy my digital product. I'm going to break down step by step how you go from project one to retainer to eventually becoming a partner and becoming the face of the brand in the long run. There are no gimmicks, no fluff, just the actual roadmap that works because guess what? It's proven. I've done it. I've lived it. And now you can too. Welcome to UGC Pro, the podcast where creative strategy, UGC innovation, and freelancing success collide. I'm your host, Kelly Rockline, a self-taught creative marketer from the brand and creator side, with over a decade of experience working with hundreds of brands and driving over $500 million in revenue. Now, as a mentor to more than 10,000 aspiring UGC creators and creative strategists, I'm here to help you unlock your full potential. Whether you're here to sharpen your ad game or gain fresh insights to elevate your creative freelance business, you're in the right place. So grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, or habit stack. Is there a pile of laundry that you need to get through? What about unloading the dishwasher? Maybe it's a good time to go out and get some fresh air. Whether you're cuddled up on the couch or getting your steps in, I am so happy you're here. So without further ado, let's dive in. Today, we're going to talk about high-ticket retainers for UGC creators and how it's nothing new, yet there are so many communities, coaches, mentors popping up talking about this as if this is something completely different from what we've already been doing, which is UGC. Spoiler alert, if you're good at UGC, you will not only attract a client, but you will continue to please them, hold them on retainer, and when you have enough leverage, you can negotiate more competitive rates. Guys, this is coming from someone that's been on both the brand and creator side for almost a decade now. I can confidently tell you brands are not openly looking to tie themselves into a monthly retainer with a contract prior to working with you on one-off projects. And it's funny because I see these mentors popping up. I'm literally getting targeted with their ads, and I have never seen some of these coaches before in the community. So in my head, I'm like, who is this person? They're giving opportunist. And then two, I have coaches now that are popping up that were at one point asking me for help, asking me for guidance. And now, in my opinion, what they're doing is they're trying to repackage UGC in this stupid wrapper that they're calling high ticket retainers, which is in return undercutting the very coaches that not only helped them, but are actually helping the community. I talked about this on my last podcast episode, but I wanted to dedicate an entire episode to it because I wanted to show you guys how it's actually possible to not only attract clients, but blow their expectations out of the water with your work to then start getting more reoccurring work to then upsell them on monthly retainers. And while doing all of this, the more performance you create for your clients, the more negotiation power you have to leverage when you're finalizing said contract. High-ticket retainers are not new. They are a natural result of being a skilled, results-driven creator. These mentors are repackaging the same idea and marketing it as something that's revolutionary, which then leaves me feeling like it's disingenuous and honestly kind of snake oily. I've said it before, but it's undercutting coaches that are trusted and misleading new creators. My future sister-in-law literally got targeted with an ad and sent it to me and was like, oh my God, have you tried doing this yet? She was talking about a mentor, again, who I've never seen in the UGC community before, talking about how she quit UGC to focus on high-ticket retainers. Like, I'm sorry, were you not the face of the brand before when you were doing UGC for your clients? Because guess what? The better performance you create for your clients, the more ads you're in, eventually you do become the face of the brand. And it's not specifically just one person. There are multiple coaches that are popping up. Again, I'm getting targeted with their ads, and it's honestly just frustrating watching them pull this disingenuous move. And it's funny because I've been sharing high-ticket deal strategies publicly since 2022. Like, the proof is there. Check out my TikTok posts, check out my free resources, our courses. Guys, I literally had a contract deal with a client of mine for $80,000. It wasn't for X amount of hours of work. It was because I was able to negotiate a rate to reflect the value I had already made for them. And you're not just going to have a brand come and write you a check, sign you as a face of their brand without working with you regularly. And guess what? No one wants to get tied into a contract. They want to do project to project. And this is coming from someone that has hired over 1,000 UGC creators. I'll start working with a creator, and after the first project, they're already pitching me on a monthly retainer. And all I keep thinking is, this was our first project together. What makes you think that I want to tie myself into a contract, aka tying my client into a contract, when I don't even know how your ads performed? And of course, the creators that are pushing this are the ones that have never actually been on the brand side, that are also spewing misinformation saying, no guys, you don't have to work your way up. You don't have to do one-off projects to get monthly retainers to be the face of their brand. I have literally never hired a creator that way. And I don't know any other colleague who's in the space on the brand side that would just sign a creator because they pitched them. This has taken me years of trial and error to get to this point. However, because of our resources, both free and paid, we have been able to expedite that learning curve for our students, who are then able to close these monthly reoccurring deals so much faster than what I was able to do, which in my eyes, that is me being successful as a mentor for my students. I don't want you to go through the same BS I had to go through. I want you to skip over it if and when possible. So yeah, I worked with this brand. It was a women's pants brand. It was 2021. They weren't running any UGC, so I pitched them on user-generated content. I'd been video editing and leading creative strategy for them up until that point. And guess what? Within those 12 months of me launching my UGC ads on a reoccurring weekly basis, becoming the face of their brand, the top 18 out of 20 ads for that year were my ads that received the bulk of the ad spend, 85% of it, which came out to just shy of $14 million, and offered a return on ad spend that equated to over $50 million. Because of that performance, I had the negotiation power and leverage, which is exactly how I was able to close that $80,000 deal, which obviously helped me get to that $100,000 marker that year, working less than 10 to 15 hours a week. My ads were so good, they were able to leave the creative agency they were using, which at the time was Tube Science, one of the most well-respected direct response agencies in the country. And no, it wasn't because they signed me as a creator my first month and I became the face of their brand. It's because I worked really closely with them. I made sure that as a service provider, I always under-promised and over-delivered, and used my brain to calculate when the right timing was to open up the conversation for negotiation. So if you're looking for the real path to high-ticket success, this is what it looks like. Long-term retainers and bigger paychecks are going to come from consistently delivering results. And while doing so, also upselling and expanding your role as trust grows, which is exactly what I did. They originally hired me as a video editor. Then I pitched them on creative strategy. Then I pitched them on UGC. I focused on building deep, ongoing relationships with my client. Now, that was just one client example. I had another client who was a tech product. I had also pitched them on UGC. I initially started as that video editor, doing creative strategy, and then again, upselling them on user-generated content. It got to the point where I was like literally the only UGC creator they were using, so I helped them source other ones to help diversify their avatars. But because my ads were doing so well, things like Amazon live hosting and being the talent in their tutorials on their YouTube channel, their website, and their app eventually became opportunities I was given. And it all goes back to consistently delivering results and upselling and expanding on that role as trust grows. Talk about being the face of the brand. I mean, literally being the only UGC creator in all of their ads, being their Amazon Live host for live selling, and then literally being the talent in all of their tutorials. That's what being the face of the brand looks like. I accredit my success to focusing on execution over the coaching shortcuts that I am seeing online right now. And again, this isn't news. I have been talking about this for forever through UGC Pro. I've been helping shorten the learning curve without gatekeeping this information. Yet again, we have mentors that are just repackaging UGC, saying they quit UGC to be the face of a brand. What does that even mean? You're creating user-generated content. Sure, you're now getting monthly retainers and charging more competitively, but again, that's nothing new. And the irony in all of this with these mentors, many so-called self-made coaches benefited from the UGC Pro resources, yet claim originality. And even more ironically, are undercutting said coaches who were not gatekeeping and also weren't being snake oily. So let's talk about the blueprint for becoming the actual face of a brand, aka being a UGC creator that is so good that they cannot go a week without working with you. Step 1, nail the one-off project. You've only got one shot to really blow their expectations out of the water, so deliver fast, flawless, performance-driven work. You want this experience as a service provider to be ridiculously easy for the brand to work with you. I'm talking talking clear communication and organized delivery. Also, it never hurts to over-deliver. Include insights, creative notes, small extras that show you're thinking beyond the assignment. Once you complete that first project, I want you to draft an email and have it scheduled to check back in with them 2 weeks later. Specifically, asking how the ad did, but also including a rate card to upsell them on another project. Think of it like a tiered system where there is 1 concept, 3 concepts, 5 concepts. And as they obviously purchase more, it is a larger discount per concept. Depending on their response, if the project performs, you're going to want to position yourself as a consistent solution and not a one-time vendor, which is exactly where the rate card comes into play. I'm not saying you can't suggest a monthly reoccurring package, but it just might be too soon into the relationship building process to do this, which is why the rate card, in my opinion, is the better route to go after that first initial project. Now, what happens if the project that you first did doesn't perform? You're going to want to ask for creative related KPIs. I'm talking thumb stop rate, view through rate, drop off rate, click-through rate. And depending on those numbers, I want you to follow up with asking what the add to cart was and the bounce rate. Because say, for example, you had a really high click-through rate, but the ROAS was low, which is another KPI you're going to want to make sure to ask for. And even you could try asking for ad spend. Not all brands are comfortable with it, but at the very least, it's better to ask and see what they give you. But say, for example, the ROAS was low, the click-through rate was high. What is the bounce rate? Because if they went to the landing page to check out the product after liking your video enough to click the link to learn more, but immediately bounced from the landing page, it's showing you did your job to get them to the landing page, but clearly there is something incongruent with the customer journey. Or maybe the bounce rate is low, but the add to cart was high, but there's a lot of people that forgot to check out. That is also super important to know. Once you get this information back from your point of contact, this is how I want you to position yourself. Whether it is good or poor performance, it does not matter. You can tell a lot about a marketer by how they choose to respond to an ad that flopped. Any seasoned marketer understands that every ad you create is not meant to win. What I like to say, what tells you the most about a marketer is what they choose to do with that feedback on that poor performing ad, which again, if the ad performed poorly and they let you know this and they give you all those KPIs back, that is your opportunity to now pitch them on a pivot strategy. Maybe the thumb stop rate was low, but the view through rate for the people that did stop was the longest in the account. How can you iterate on that concept to make it stronger? You could offer an iteration package where you provide 3 alternate hooks to be able to see which one gets a better thumb stop rate. Maybe the thumb stop was really high, but immediately after, everyone left. Maybe it's because your hook was a little too clickbaity, and once they realized what they were actually watching, they kept scrolling. How can you make that hook more congruent with the overall narrative of that ad? That is what you can suggest as next steps. I feel like a lot of UGC creators are sitting on the bench waiting for their coach to call them in, when really, if you take the wheel and start showing that regardless of good or poor performance, you are strategic in your next steps, this person is going to find value in that, specifically in you, and want to continue working with you because they show that you are not only a self-starter, but you are also able to take performance feedback and iterate accordingly. Also, Q4 is right around the corner, so when you're following up with a client that you did your first project for and are wanting to work with them again, definitely lean heavily into this. For me, I go the rate card route. Ultimately, it's not what you say, it's how you say it, so I'm not saying that is the only way to do it. There are many different ways to execute this. Not only is Q4 coming up, but because of the state of the economy, companies have not only laid off employees, but they have chosen to not backfill them because they do not want as much overhead. Which means, say there was a creative team of 10 and maybe now there's 7. The 7 have tight bandwidth. They have now taken on and distributed the work of the 3 people that were let go amongst the 7. So their team is extremely strapped when it comes to bandwidth, meaning they don't have the availability to take on any more work during the workday, which is where a partner like yourself, a UGC creator who understands video editing, creative strategy, and is trusted to be able to carry the load that needs to be outsourced is then the opportunity for you to start closing these monthly retainers. When the time feels right, you can suggest what is a monthly package. So think content, strategy, and reporting that reduces friction for them and guarantees reoccurring work for you. You want to make sure that you're framing it as time and money savings for the brand. They won't need to source multiple creators when they already trust you and your ads are already doing well, or you're already figuring out that pivot plan to make that ad stronger based on that poor performance. What I've been really good at is making myself irreplaceable. So what I want you to do next is expand your role and upsell your services. As trust continues to build, introduce add-on services like I had mentioned, creative strategy, copywriting, script writing, video editing, TikTok shop support, Amazon Lives. If it's a product that needs a tutorial, suggest filming those tutorials for an app, their website, their YouTube channel, etc. As time goes on, you're going to point to those results in the data to justify the upsell while you're negotiating. Notice how you started out as just a creator, but now you are growing into a creative partner. That doesn't happen when you first start working with a brand, which again is what mentors out there are claiming, which is absolute garbage in my opinion. And this is coming from someone, again, from the brand and creator side. And these coaches have never actually been on the brand side. And I'm going to be honest, a lot of these coaches wouldn't even get hired to work internally because they are lacking that much experience. Now, the cool thing is as you're working more and more with this brand, you are building an audience that recognizes you. Consistency breeds recognition. Being the reoccurring face in ads builds audience trust. Take out time to read the comments of the ads. Track when the audience starts engaging with you directly as a creator. Throughout all of this, you're positioning yourself as the brand's go-to creator and not just a creator. You are a creative brand partner, which is where you get to eventually step into brand recognition roles. So we're talking about leveraging that audience familiarity into new formats like Amazon Lives, those tutorials, app walkthroughs, ambassador campaigns, TikTok Lives, whatever it might be. At this stage, you are officially the face. You are trusted by both the brand and their customers. And this is where the long-term high-value deals happen because you're embedded in the brand story. Those are the 4 phases. Project 1, using your rate card and eventually upselling them on a retainer once you have built trust. Becoming that brand partner to then eventually become the face of the brand that is trusted by not only your client, but also their customers. That's what I want you to take away from this, the big picture. Becoming the face of a brand isn't about hacks, gimmicks, or somebody's shiny new system. It's about doing the work in the right order. Because if you jump ahead, you might actually annoy your point of contact, if I'm being completely honest. You want to start by nailing the one-off project. Prove you can deliver those results. Then turn it into a retainer so the brand doesn't have to think twice about working with you again. Now, between steps 1 and 2, there is going to be a period of time where you are trust building, either through one-off projects or through the tiered system you pitch them on with your rate card. From there, you are going to strategically expand your role by upselling your expertise and positioning yourself as a true partner. And once you're consistently showing up, delivering performance, and being recognized by the audience itself, that's when you naturally step into being the face of the brand. It's not flashy and it's also not an overnight thing, but it's proven. I've done it, I've lived it, and you can too. So if you take one thing away from this today, let it be this. Focus less on the hype and more on building long-term trust and performance for your clients. It's not sexy, but that is the real blueprint. And when you do it right, the opportunities to become the face of the brand are going to follow. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the UGC Pro podcast. I hope today's episode gave you inspiration and practical steps to apply to your business. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to hit follow, leave a review, and share it with another creator or marketer. And make sure to catch our next episode. Now, I don't want to give too much away, but let's just say you will not want to miss out. Until then, remember that success is a strategy and you are your most valuable client. So treat yourself like it. And lastly, if you aren't already connected with us on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, X, look up UGC Pro and be sure to follow along. And as always, I wish you the best of luck on your UGC and creative strategy journey.